Tennessee This Week from WATE 6 on your side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. We found ourselves last week asking what's going on with school accountability scores. That was our response in the newsroom after Knox County schools turned up in the bottom 5% of scores around the state, designated as in need of improvement. Knox County Superintendent Dr. John Reiswick said in a school board meeting that the bottom 5 isn't where the district wants to be. Wednesday, he talked about how Knox County schools got there and his plan to get out of the school accountability basement.
And that's not acceptable for us in Knox County. I know our teachers don't feel that way either. I know our principals don't feel that way. But that is where the data said. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the data, and we can answer more specific questions in a second. So our two biggest factors in that put us automatically in that category were our academic growth and our chronic absenteeism, as you heard Dr. Atkins mentioned a second ago. So I'm going to start with chronic absenteeism. That was probably the biggest one for us. For our 21-22 school year, our chronic absenteeism rate soared to 27%. And as she has said before, that means 10% of the days you could be in school that you miss. That means students missing 18 days of instruction. She did a great job breaking the hours down for us a second ago. And so what that means for us is 1 in 3, almost 1 in 3 of the kids in Knox County schools missed 18 days or more of instruction. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And we know there were challenges again this year, but now we have to work to get better at that. So I want to make this clear too, so that families and our community understand. We talk about like mommy notes and excused absences versus unexcused absences. When the state looks at that, none of that matters. An excused absence or an unexcused absence is seen as the same. You can miss 18 days of school. And so even if there's doctor's appointments or there are, again, notes, that's what comes into that. So just want to make sure everybody's clear and aware of what goes into that. The other part was that our district last year we were a level 5 in growth. This year, the year before last we were. This past year we were a level 1. And the state ranks out all of the other districts across the state, and it looks to see where we were on our growth targets projected to where we were supposed to be. And again, that's a scale of 1 to 5, and we were a level 1. That's not, again, where we want to be, and that's not how we're going to overcome this learning loss long way. So simply put it, our growth scores were not where we want them to be, and in Knox County, not where we expect them to be. Here's what we're going to do about it, and we'll talk about that some now. So we do have an opportunity now to redouble our efforts back into some of the things that you heard Dr. Atkins talk about. And let me be clear about this too. None of the things she just talked about are flashy, right? None of them are ribbon cuttings or photo ops, those kinds of things. And you heard from her that what her staff does and what her students do and what her families do is every day they understand what the learning targets are. They work on providing interventions. They work on trying again. They work on all of that kind of, it's about effort. She even said the effort trumps intelligence when it comes to those things. That is the hard work and the grind that has to happen in every school to overcome the learning loss we've seen in the last couple of years. When I took over in June, I knew that I would be taking a district over that, like everyone else in the country, has a lot of challenges. I knew the work would be hard. I just want to say to the community, the work that we need to do will be hard ahead. It's not an easy path. It's not an easy road. It's not a quick fix. And so we will have to work extremely hard, but we do that by having high behavioral expectations and high academic expectations for every student in every classroom across Knox County School. We can't lower our standard. We can't lower what we expect our students to do. We can't lower what we expect them to do academically or behaviorally. I want to talk one way we're going to do that, and I've said this before. Knox County Schools isn't able to be everything to everybody. We're a part of the community, and it's important for us to work with the community, and that's why I'm so glad we have community partners here who have been supportive of us. And I know I've talked with these folks and some others that they're willing to take these next steps with us too. But it is going to be important. So it's going to require all of our families, all of our businesses, all of our community partners to make this happen. I've talked a lot about different structures since I've been in place, and today I want to talk a little bit about my community engagement structure that I will have moving forward. Let me say this first. There's kind of 3 levels where we're going to ask community, business, families to engage with us. And the first is at the school level. We believe that every school, we support that every school should have an organization, be it a PTA, a PTSO, be it different kinds of things that can do those. That's where, if you were interested in being involved in the work you heard Dr. Atkins speak to, she talked about her families. Every parent, every family, every grandparent, every community, every business, look at the school in your community. You know the work ahead we have to do.
Well, of course, it wasn't just Knox County. Among the local school districts designated as in need of improvement, Anderson, Claiborne, Sevier County also making the list. Sevier County takes issue with the ranking, sending out a 3-page news release critical of the process, saying it, quote, measures student academic growth from year to year rather than serving as an indicator of student proficiency on the state assessment. Last week, we saw state and federal lawmakers talk about responding to shocking crimes in Memphis. Senators Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty introduced the Restoring Law and Order Act to increase resources to state and local law enforcement agencies. Blackburn accused the political left of being soft on crime, and in a letter to President Biden, the senators urged the White House to go the other way.
If you do the crime, it is imperative that you serve the time.
Bringing federal resources to bear to deal with a surge in crime. We need to look hard at other ways to address this. We need this administration to be creative about solving a problem rather than creating more.
If their proposed bill becomes law, Senator Blackburn says it will establish a federal grant program to hire more police officers and detectives focused on violent crimes. It will also boost resources for authorities investigating drug crimes. The bill would require the Government Accountability Office to assess rape kits and how long it takes them to be processed. State Representative Andrew Farmer from Sevierville will chair a special committee to examine sentencing and parole monitoring. House Speaker Cameron Sexton appointing Farmer to the panel. You may remember lawmakers announced the committee the day after Eliza Fletcher's body was identified in Memphis. That came before the shooting spree, but the announcement points out that both suspects have felony records and had been released from prison recently. Thursday, Democratic state lawmakers offering up their slate of suggestions for the legislature, among those fully funding the TBI. We've reported on delays in processing rape kits around Tennessee for years, but it's getting new attention after police said the suspect in the Memphis kidnap murder case was linked by DNA evidence to an alleged rape from last year. But investigators only got those results after victim Eliza Fletcher's body was found. That rape kit apparently sat in storage for nearly a year. Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis said officers did not ask for a rush on the testing, which is not unusual except in certain circumstances. Governor Bill Lee's office says it has made the single largest investment into the TBI in the Bureau's history, an investment to reduce the backlog of untested rape kits. House Caucus Chair Vincent Dixie accused Republicans of, quote, playing political football, responding to crime with changes focused too narrowly on one part of the issue.
Every time a tragedy like this occurs, the Republican leadership fails to address the root causes of the violence. They consistently pass reactive laws that only increase punishment. We have the tools to be proactive and attack the problems.
Along with more TBI funding, Democrats say their upcoming bill will redirect money to crime prevention rather than longer prison sentencing. Governor Bill Lee said last week it was time to have a conversation about plea deals, saying, quote, soft on crime plea deals have consequences. That was a bit of a change of tone from Governor Lee, who has even broken from other members of his own party on criminal justice reform in the past. House Speaker Cameron Sexton praised Tennessee's truth in sentencing bill after the killings in Memphis and tweeted support for stopping incentives to reduce sentences. Another clash is brewing in Tennessee and beyond over the Biden administration's call to expand Title IX discrimination protections in federally funded education programs beyond women to also cover LGBTQ plus people. With that expansion temporarily blocked in federal court, Oak Ridge State Representative John Reagan has been sending letters to Tennessee colleges telling them to pull references to LGBTQ Title IX protections from their websites or risk breaking state law. UT responded to Reagan's letter, saying it had not changed any publications, websites, or policies since the Biden administration's Title IX move or since the court's ruling. Also, UT says it believes that it is not violating state or federal laws. Senator Marsha Blackburn and other lawmakers also taking action on this issue, sending a letter to the U.S. Department of Education opposing the LGBTQ extension. Well, still to come, our panel of pundits is coming up next. You're watching Tennessee This Week on WATE 6 on your side. And welcome back to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. Glad you're with us. We're now joined by political analyst George Korda, political contributor Courtney Piper, and healthcare analyst Craig Griffith. Guys, great to see you. Great to have you along.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about Knox County schools for a moment. Knox County schools falling to in need of improvement designation. So, Craig, I'm going to start with you on this one. Just when you heard this report, when it came out, what kind of ran through your mind at that moment?
Well, this is quite a welcoming present for the new superintendent. He's going to have his hands full in trying to get this number of schools up to a better performing level. Now, it's people have talked about the different weights of the components of the test, but it's my understanding the state weighted those components so that one didn't stand out, so you couldn't use absenteeism, for example, as the excuse for failing the overall test. So I think it just shows that Knox County Schools needs to reorient its procedures to getting more achievement in the classroom. The fact that there's so many people absent does raise an eyebrow. Can't learn when you're absent. So I'm thinking that we need to model some of the 9 schools that were exemplary in the report at different levels of education, see what they're doing right, doing wrong. No need to reinvent the wheel in Knox County if you have some high-performing schools that can show you where you need to go and what you need to do.
Yeah, we've heard that from some of the other school districts as well. I know Anderson, Claiborne, Sevier County also making that bottom 5% list, if you will. Courtney, you kind of go along with Craig's saying here, or are there some things that jump out at you that really need to be addressed, or just kind of what were your thoughts?
Well, what jumped out at me is I immediately went to the list and I looked for the school that my kids are going to, Sunnyview Primary. It was not on any list, so I'm going to take that as a good sign. Just having now being a parent and having my children in the Knox County public school systems, I have observed my friends and their experiences with the Knox County public school system, and now I'm observing mine. I can't say enough good things about Sunnyview Primary, the teacher and the principals. They are incredible professionals and individuals. What I am starting to see is how the complexities and the hierarchy and the bureaucracy of what used to be the downtown Knox County school system can really make it challenging for individuals to perform by adding a lot of bureaucracy and councils and testing. One of the things that the Copperhead principal said was a game changer for her is that she got her staff together and said, you know what? We know what's going to work best for our students is to focus on them and get to know them individually and personally. And I really believe that is what's needed. Oftentimes, a lot of directives from on high can get in the way of that. So what I think we need to do is take this to a grassroots level with each individual principal and school and let them do what they know is best and teach our students in the way that they know is successful.
George, what do you think? For Dr. Reiswick just coming into all of this now, is this going to be a big challenge, or is there a simple fix?
Well, there is no simple fix. If there was a simple fix, it would have been fixed a long time ago. Because, as we've talked about before, there are problems in schools that go back decades, longer. The National Report Card assesses schools across the country. And as we've talked about before, pre-COVID, 4th graders generally in Knox County were reading about a third were reading at 4th grade level. Nationally, it was about the same. And you go back 20 years, there's not much difference. In New York City, which spends $28,000 per student in their public school system, their scores are even worse. So there's going to be we got to spend more money. On what? A system that's not already doing what it's supposed to do? And it's just a fact of life. If we're looking at the schools and saying, you guys fix this, they can't. They can to a degree, but in total, they can't. And I was remembering, I went from 2nd to 4th grade. I skipped 3rd. So I got into 4th grade, and I wasn't handling the math particularly well. I couldn't do the times tables. My strengths were in English and social studies and those kinds of things. So I said to my dad, I can't do the math, the times tables. He printed up a card with the times tables on them, handed it to me and said, go to your room, don't come out till you know them. Oh, you can't, I gotta learn it. Don't come out till you know them. You know what? I didn't come out till I knew them. And there's a certain, I don't know what it is with parents that kind of say, hey, schools, this is your job, not mine. No, it's their job too.
Craig,
So,
we've heard this.
you know,
Go ahead,
hang
Courtney.
on, Bo, a couple of things. It is frustrating for me to hear people talk about public education, young people in education in general, and think about how they were taught and their experiences and lament about why can't things be the same. The reality is today is a different time, and we can either sit around and gripe about our frustrations of why can't people have the same experience I have, why can't people just do the same things and get the same results, or we can accept reality and meet our kids and our families where they are today, stop butting heads, and move forward.
So, in other
Also,
words,
we can also
wait. You just criticized me. What you're saying is we can't insist that parents play a direct role in helping
No, we
with
can.
education of their kids, because that's what I'm
We
talking
can.
about. Courtney.
We can, but
What are you
George,
complaining about?
understand that families and homes are fundamentally different from when you went to school. When you went to school, a lot of times there was one parent that was designated stay at home, and there was one parent that was designated work. Now there is a growing number of families where both parents are working, and they are working hard, and they are working incredibly hard to meet ends meet. That makes putting those
Yes.
same commitments and experience you had as a child in a very different world. It is
So you're
very
making an
hard
excuse.
for
Let
parents.
me tell you what you're doing. You're making an excuse for failure there.
I'm not making an
Because-
excuse
because
for
you're-
failure.
what you're
I'm
saying
saying we have
is-
to change the way
What you're saying is
and the way
schools,
we operate.
you're saying schools, you must do this. You must.
No, I'm not
figure
saying
it out.
that at all.
Well, what are you
I'm not
saying?
saying
You're
that
saying
at
the
all.
parents can't do it. So what are you saying?
I'm saying accept the reality of how families are fundamentally different than they were in the 1950s and the 1960s.
So what does that mean? That parents shouldn't force their kids to achieve high standards?
No, George, that's not what it means. It
Well, I
means
don't
that you
know
have
what
to
that
accept
means.
the reality of your situation if you want to move forward. You can't just sit there and go, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? This happened to me when I was a kid. When I was growing up, this happened.
Are you going to hold
It's
your
not the
children to
same.
high standards?
Sure I am.
How is that different than what my parents did with me?
Well, when I went to school, my mom stayed home and my dad worked. My mom
No,
had
we're not
more
talking about that.
time
Now you're making excuses
to be
for
with my
working
sister and
parents
I.
again. You're
I'm
saying
not making
working-
any excuses.
You're saying working parents can't be expected to ensure that their
Absolutely
children.
not. George, you are putting words in my mouth. That is
What are
not
you
what I'm
saying?
saying at all.
That's exactly what
I can
you're
repeat
saying.
it for the 5th time, which is the reality of families is very different than it was 2,
So what does that
3
mean, Courtney?
generations ago.
Be clear. Stop talking in dribble. What does that
George,
mean?
I think I'm being very clear. I'm
What does
saying
that
it's
mean?
different.
What does that
You want me
mean?
to repeat it again?
What does it mean?
Do you want me
What
to
is
repeat it again?
You're going to say the same thing. What does it mean for a child's education that some families are different? What does it mean? Who's responsible for teaching and educating that
I
child?
don't think this is a productive conversation, George. I'm saying you have to accept the reality of families are different than they were in the 1950s and the 1960s.
I tell you what, I want Craig to jump in here for a second. Let him weigh in before we head off to the break. So, Craig, let's think about this for a second, though. If you do have those families, or let's say you have someone who maybe does not have someone to go home to, there is nobody there to help them out. Whether it's work, maybe they're being raised by someone else. How does the school system? How do we help these children then?
Well, the key is the parents. The parents have to place a priority on education. They have to place a priority on people getting from grade level to grade level. So in reality, it is the responsibility of the parent not to dismiss their education to the school system entirely. What can they do to partner with the school system to make their children's educational experience better? Yes, I mean, there are different circumstances in families now, but still the fundamental equation is the same. If the parents don't value education, if they allow their children to be absent at an abnormally high number of times in a given year, that's not a fundamental formula for success. So the parents are absolutely part of this educational formula that we need.
I think you guys are really failing to understand, especially the opioid epidemic, how families are fundamentally different. A lot of times teenagers now are expected to earn an income for the family because the parents cannot.
So what are you
That
saying?
affects children.
So what are you saying?
So we're going to
I'm
let them continue
saying
their debate.
Accept
We're going to be
the
back after the
reality
break.
of your
All right, welcome back to Tennessee This Week. We're going to change our focus right now. A number of GOP lawmakers have really been going after the Biden administration as far as crime is concerned. Obviously, here in the state of Tennessee, making a big headlines, several incidents in the Memphis area. That has led to our senators, Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty, to basically send a letter, got a copy of it right here, to the president demanding that he take swift action to eliminate soft on crime policies. Courtney, I'm going to start with you on this one. Your thoughts, first of all, a lot of these lawmakers targeting the Biden administration, holding them accountable. Your thoughts?
It's a very interesting position for the GOP to take. And I would encourage them, I'm just going to throw this out there, that if they want to start seeing people get tougher on crime or things of that nature, perhaps they should start with former President Trump. He increased penalties for removing confidential documents, top secret documents, and he, made a big stink about the FBI coming and finding those documents. So, I find it very curious that the GOP is now talking about getting tough on crime when they could first start with the former leader of their party, former President Trump.
George, you're shaking your head. I saw your reaction.
Well, it appears that
crime is a problem throughout the country. Rapes, murders, assaults, robberies. So what about Trump and his documents?
Oh yeah, that doesn't count because he's president. You have to have even application.
The reason this is a increasingly bigger deal is because you've had situations such as in San Francisco, one of the most liberal cities in the country, in which the district attorney was recalled. In Los Angeles, there is an effort to do something about the Democratic Los Angeles. There's an effort to do something about the district attorney because of his soft stance on crime. The mayor of New York City, Democrat, has been at odds with the Democratic district attorney because he says the district attorney is soft on crime. And the Philadelphia or the Pennsylvania House of Representatives just held the Philadelphia district attorney in contempt because he's refusing to turn over documents, and he's a liberal who is said to be soft on crime. And all over the country, crime rates are well above where they've been in the past. It is something every American is aware of in their cities. And so what Blackburn and Hagerty did, that's a political move. That is a political move to draw attention to what is going on all over the country, except they're using Memphis. It's politics. Because here's what Joe Biden is not doing. Joe Biden is not talking about crime. Joe Biden is not saying anything about crime, because this is mainly, to a significant degree, happening in cities, most publicized in cities with Democratic leadership. And so he's not talking about it. He's not using the presidential bully pulpit. He can't get a law passed to say there isn't going to be crime. That's not the federal government's job. But what he's not doing is talking about it. He's not shining a light on it because it's not politically advantageous.
There is no answer to this question that the Democratic or Republican Party can solve. People point out that the crime's up in Democratic-controlled neighborhoods, but the Wall Street Journal reported recently that crime is up in areas defined as rural, especially homicide, by 28% over the last 3 years. So it is an issue that doesn't have Democratic or Republican roots. It has a problem that our country is going through that we need to identify. And of course, one of the biggest problems is most of these are done by guns. Gun violence. Memphis had gun violence. To do something about the epidemic of gun violence in America, I don't see how you're going to reduce crime. So I think that we even see in Tennessee the disagreement between individuals in the Republican Party. The last legislative session, the legislature passed a, quote, get tough on crime, fill your entire senates, go, before you get out. But yet they had pushback from the Republican governor, who cited many studies that said that this type of legislation actually results in more people coming back into jail. So it's very difficult. And until we come together on a nonpartisan basis, not trying to say that the mayor of a rural county in Kansas is doing a better job than the mayor of New York City. So I think that we need to come together on a bipartisan and identify some issues. What's the root cause of this? Is it the guns? Is it economic? What's the problem here? And identify public health remedies for the problem.
We want to thank again our panel of pundits for joining us this week, and we want to thank you as well. And we look forward to seeing you next week on Tennessee This Week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Nexstar Broadcasting.